Hey, I wanted to talk just a little bit of business with Karl because I'm fascinated with YouTube pages now because we've got our YouTube page and Karl's is doing great. I mean, you guys get so many views. And Shuli started a little bit after you, and so I've been watching his page and some of your other Cardiff and people like that and Steel Toe. All these shows that are sharing the Chad Zumocks and the Stuttering Johns. And I noticed that Shuli is still doing Stuttering John. I mean, there's got to be like 12 videos a week on Stuttering John. And you've really faded away from Stuttering John because he hasn't had any new material since, November?
Yeah, it was October 31st was his last show that he ever did. And I talked to Shuli about this on the phone. I said to him, I go, I love the Uncle Rico show. I love what you're doing. But I said, maybe you should make that the Shuli show presents Uncle Rico or something like that. Because I go, John could like drink himself to death or retire and we're SOL. And he goes, Karl, I know John. He needs the fame more than he needs air. He will be doing this show from the hospital bed.
But does he want... The problem is, do you want your career attached to Stuttering John's well-being or non-well-being? Because now, to me, he's the Stuttering John guy, and I don't really know what else he's doing, because that's all I see is Stuttering John, and I poke in and listen. I think they do a good job on it, but what is left in the Stuttering John well? Does he keep coming up with new things?
No, he's going back and rehashing some old stuff, and it's still entertaining. I mean,
it is. I agree.
Doing so many episodes a week that we were barely scratching the surface when we were covering him on the reg. But yeah, I also think that, you know, if she's not putting out new material, then you need to kind of diversify in what you're talking about.
I would, but it's working for him. I mean, I see his page is doing very well, so I don't mean to be overly critical about it. Whatever gets clicks, you know, now that I'm a YouTube person, I understand that world.
Drew and Michael, I don't know.
I understand that world a little better, but are there Reddit pages going, what's up with this guy? I mean, are other people wondering what I'm wondering?
I will say that, so Uncle Rico gets most of the views probably from the Shuli Network, but it is now the Shuli Network. And he does the BS show with him and Bob Levy, and they have Miserable Men and a bunch of other shows on there. Ray DeVito's on there. So it's not all Stuttering John, but I think that's what most of the views that they get are probably clips and things like that.
That's what I noticed. So I just wondered, and of course you've been intimately linked with Stuttering John, and now it seems like if something were to happen to Stuttering John, I think the blame would fall on Shuli more than you.
Well, this is a big news happened this week. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
But Chrissy Mayer announced Stuttering John's coming on her show.
What?
Big announcement. He's going to come on the show. And I was actually in some conversations behind the scenes about this. And my feeling was, I'll believe it when I see it. But I was excited about it. Turns out, Chrissy and the people working with Chrissy were communicating with someone who had a fake email address. John.
So has John generated anything since the Iowa stand-up?
No, he's put out tweets. Other than that, we know that he sold his apartment in Canoga Park. He says he's moved to New Mexico. I happen to know from a source he's moving to Florida. And from what I've heard, guys, and I'll give him props on this, I didn't think this would ever happen. You know, he's teaching high school or middle school, and he loves it. And he's enjoying it.
Yeah, he loves teaching.
Well, a friend asked him, said that the teaching world needed him.
He was recruited at a pub.
There was a shortage of teachers.
It's changed his life. He is now a full-time substitute teacher.
Well, to devote yourself to children and in teaching and bringing them along and making sure they have the proper building blocks to have a successful career like Stuttering John.
It's funny, Scott, because you and I have never heard of Drew and Mike.
As if. Okay. So he's really defaulted to teaching. It's become too humiliating from the podcast.
Correct. And by the way, there's still an audience for this. The Dabblers Anonymous subreddit is still going strong. Shuli's doing another show in May. No, is it next month or May out in Pottstown, Pennsylvania? So they're doing more Uncle Rico show live stuff. So people are still interested in it. It's still happening.
Okay. I do agree with Shuli. He will have to come back at some point. It's hard to believe he won't, but I appreciate the fact that you've really carried on and you've kind of left Stuttering John You haven't left him, but
thanks to the miraculous miracle that happens to be Chad Zumock.
Chad Zumock helped, but
that guy really stepped up in Stuttering John's absence.
he did that whole thing. We've been through some of it with our audience, not to the extent that you guys have. It's an incredibly stupid story, and it is bringing clicks all over that podcast universe that you're in.